Welcome to the Tales to Inspire podcast. Before we get started on this episode, I would like to invite you to our community so that you can hear more stories to inspire change within your life and positive change within the systems in which we live. All I want you to do is to click on the subscribe button. Your comments mean the world to us with anything that's resonated with you, and I absolutely love your support. I can't wait to go on this journey alongside you. Thank you so much for subscribing. Let's get into today's episode.
Hi, I'm Alex Winstanley, and this is my tale to inspire.
Who are you, where you're from, and we'll start from the very beginning.
Big question, but no, yeah, I always say, if someone says, who are you, or that sort of question, I'm just a lad from Wigan. That's how I'm really passionate Wiganer, and don't ask me why, just I'm really proud to be. And again, going back to marginalised communities, I was speaking to someone a couple of weeks ago in London. He was saying it. We were talking about the mining history of Wigan, the borough of Wigan, and it's got a huge mining history. My dad even had experience working in the mines, so until they were closed in the 70s. And anyway, he was saying, he said, as an Asian person, he said, I can connect with what you're saying as a northerner. I feel like I speak to northerners, and he said, you've just got this lived experience of feeling marginalised. Everything is so London-centric and stuff, in my opinion. We're always the Northwest, Wigan, that way, the last to hear about it. And I feel like maybe it just puts this chip on your shoulder, probably has done with mine, which thinks, I want to give people a voice. So not just myself, but people who are experiencing hardship and marginalisation. But yeah, ultimately, lad from Wigan.
What's your name? I mean, our listeners who are you?
My name's Alex Winstanley, I grew up, born and bred in Wigan, and never thought I'd be doing what I do now. Got to high school, started playing rugby, play rugby league in Wigan. For anyone who doesn't know what rugby league is and only knows rugby union, don't worry, I won't confuse you. There's two forms of rugby, it doesn't matter. It's big in Wigan and some place in the Northwest, and that's pretty much about it, and Australia and New Zealand. But yeah, I started playing that and suddenly, I lost weight. I was pretty overweight probably as a kid. Didn't have any real confidence. Playing rugby and then playing sport just transformed that. I'll never ever take that for granted, the power that sport has. So that quickly drove me to wanting to become a PE teacher. And yeah, suddenly I became fitter, more confident, all these things that comes with getting active. And that's why it's one big passion of mine and what that does. And yeah, that led to, that was it. I wanted to become a PE teacher. And I'll never forget someone who I really still look up to, saying to me, I was out in Manchester one day, and he said, how's it going? You're on your journey being a PE teacher. I was probably I think I was at uni then, on my PE teaching course, and I'd gone through what everyone does, your college straight away, uni straight away. Done loads of volunteering in that time. Volunteering is a massive thing that I'll come back to in my life, but I'll never forget him saying to me, I see something bigger for you though than just a PE teacher. And I thought, what do you mean? I want to be a PE teacher. That's my goal. And sort of now I look back and I think I get what he was saying, but it weren't being offensive to PE teachers. It was just that I see something else, and I sort of get that now I've been through it. But wanted to be a PE teacher, never thought I'd do what I was doing now. Along that way, like I said, done a lot of volunteering. Done a lot of volunteering with a great local charity, Embrace Wigan and Leigh, and that led to me becoming a personal assistant to a disabled person, Hayden, Hayden is also our co-founder at Happy Smiles as well, and get onto that journey I suppose, but never thought I'd get into that sort of line of work, providing care and support for disabled people. When I was 18, I applied for the old Camp America thing, and I got loads of offers from camps over there saying, they were special needs camps. I hate the term special, to be honest, in that context. I won't go into why, I guess. I don't know. That's another conversation, but I thought, I can't do that. I can't go away from home for a long period of time and be doing that, sort of as the sole sort of carer maybe for someone in that role. But then I started supporting Hayden at the time when I was about 18, 19, and I thought, why have I never done this? And then started being a PA for other local disabled adults in the borough. And I was like, I'm going to the cinema with lads my age. They were probably a year or two younger, whatever. We're going watching, like, you know, the Avengers. I'm getting paid. It was mad. So, quickly thought, why is everyone not doing this? And I thought, you know, there's something in this that I'm really relating to. So started doing that. And that came from volunteering. You know, at the same time, was really lucky to volunteer at, like, you know, the 2012 Olympics, working for Coke. Great, amazing experience. Did 2 summers in Ghana around that time on sports development work, and got some really great friends off the back of that. And it was all sort of experiences where I just started throwing myself into things and thinking, you know, I guess you're young and you're just excited, you throw yourself into stuff, and if you don't, I think people should. But that's always been my sort of mantra or way of thinking. I just sort of throw myself in a little bit, and it's generally led to good things. So yeah, that was getting up to sort of uni age and that, and doing those great experiences. Went travelling after I finished uni. Luckily, could do that with my wife, and travelled, did a circuit really of the globe.
Where did you meet your wife?
Met my wife volunteering.
All right, actually.
Yeah, so 16 and 17 we were, so I've been together ever since, unfortunately for her. But I met volunteering again. Did my work experience at this place, working with kids, Wigan Warriors. Had a programme at the time. Wigan Warriors, our local rugby league team. And just won the Super League last year, just to mention that. But
fans are at the start. Tickets are available for next season.
Yeah, current champions, I may add. And they had this program where they were working with kids, teaching sort of maths, literacy skills through sort of sport and that. And I did my work experience there, and then started volunteering there one day a week. Loved it. So yeah, it was brilliant, and that's where I met my wife. So again, through volunteering. So yeah. We quickly had sort of similar shared passions. My wife Rachel, she was going to become a PE teacher. She went through the same sort of course and stuff that I did. When she finished her degree, I finished my PGCE. So a year apart, I'd just finished that extra year to become a teacher, and that's when we went travelling then. And again, lucky to meet loads of great people, have great experiences. And that was where, you know, a lot of people started saying, we started realising in other countries and cultures, like, people weren't just going through college, uni, decide what you want to be when you're 12, and when you pick your options, and that's it for the rest of your life. And I think that puts young people under a lot of pressure. As adults, a lot of people, I asked some, in a talk yesterday, I asked some college students who doesn't know what they want to be. A few put their hand up. So did a member of staff. Do you know what I mean? Who was, I don't know, let's guess, I'll be kind, 30. Whatever. And that's just the culture we live in, I think. And I definitely think in the sector that we now work in, and the communities we now work in, which is all about following your passion, that should be what we're teaching, not sort of what role do I want to be in. Oh, I want to be a PE teacher, let's work towards that. I'll never forget a PE teacher of mine. I said, I don't want to know what to pick as my options. I want to be a PE teacher. Don't know what to pick, and he just said, do what you enjoy. And now I look back and think, I get it, because actually it didn't really matter. I did PE, the other stuff didn't matter as long as I enjoyed it. And I sort of get that now, and I think that's what we should be encouraging more of from a young age. So yeah, we both got through that uni stage. In early 20s, went travelling, came back from that. Got a job fairly quickly as a PE teacher, so I sort of achieved my goal of being this secondary school PE teacher in Widnes. Loved it. Didn't like parts of it, like a lot of teachers. The education system, again, is one of those sort of ingrained systems where it's really struggling at the minute. You know, I went back to my old school I taught in a few months ago to do a workshop, and it just completely changed. And I could see it was like a week before staff left for summer, and they were all signed out. Do you know what I mean? It was, you know, I won't name the school. I don't want to get them in trouble. So many of them just didn't want to be there. And I didn't leave because I didn't want to be there. I left because, and it was a hard decision, but I left because I knew I could have a greater impact somehow with what I believed in, and I weren't having that in my current role. I was a PE teacher and an assistant SENCO, special educational needs coordinator. And I felt like I couldn't see along that path, I couldn't see how I could have the impact I wanted to achieve. And that's why I made that decision. I was in a lucky position at the time where I didn't have a house, didn't have a family. Me and my wife sat down and said, this is the time now where you do it, or it might never happen. And it couldn't happen now. I've just saying to you before, I've just moved house. You know, I looked in the bank account yesterday and it went minus hundreds of thousands of pounds, and I was like, what? So I've never seen that, the way that bank put that before, and that was scary. So couldn't do that now. I've got 2 little girls. Completely obviously changed my life and that dynamic, and with, you know, you're always on that journey of, as an individual, of who you are, I suppose. And right now I'm this dad and doing this other stuff, and yeah, the dad stuff comes first, obviously, but it definitely changed who I am anyway. But yeah, back to 2019, I made that decision to leave my job. Left in the May, I think it was, around Easter May time. Got married, went on a honeymoon for 6 weeks, came back and went, right, let's start this business thing. What I should have done is learn how to run a business before I did that. We'd done the sort of seeds that were planted to get to that point, where in 2018 I was still teaching, I was still a PA roughly at part-time at weekends and evenings. And I was still involved in Hayden's life a lot, who I'd first met, who I mentioned before, and Hayden had become a massive part of my life and was his family to me now. We you know, his family, my family, and vice versa. And in 2018, Hayden spent nearly a year in hospital for multiple complications on some surgeries. Hayden has cerebral palsy. He has a pump that releases medication around his body, so he doesn't have to be constantly taking medication through the day and night. And this pump operation had loads of complications. So he was there for nearly a year. In that time, we asked people to send pictures of the happy smiles, because Hayden goes on his iPad loads, so we knew if people sending pictures of their happy smiles, they'd be able to look through it. And hundreds of people sent these pictures, these big, mass smiley faces, happy smiles, and people get our name wrong at Happy Smiles. Like, they're like, oh, you're from Smiley Faces? I'm like, no, we're from Happy Smiles. But yeah, the concept was these big smiling faces, and it was amazing. And that name stuck, it planted a seed. And then, as well as all the stuff we kept seeing, you know, lots of disabled people being undervalued, stigmatised, not being given opportunities like the ones I had been given. Me and Hayden did a video about Hayden's life, what he does, all the stuff he does, which is a lot. And we did this video, and again, the reaction was massive. It reached like thousands and thousands. Like, I've heard you speak about Tales to Inspire. You went flipping out, like, it's reached all these people. That was a similar thing. This story about Hayden's life, we didn't expect it. And we started doing more with lots of different disabled people, and you think every single one's gonna blow up, and they don't, and you think, what's going on? Like, these are these amazing stories that people need to hear. But social media, algorithms for you or whatever. But anyway, we started doing that. And then me and Hayden did a couple of sort of little trial. I just said to my school, look, have you ever had any like disability awareness style training for workshops for the kids? And he said no. So I said, I'll do one with Hayden. So we did, and I had parents ringing me that night saying, you know, my daughter's come home today and said she's never seen anything like it. She couldn't believe like a disabled person was leading this workshop. And that tells you everything about, again, the ingrained stuff we've got going on in society. But again, we went, there's some legs in this here, there's something in this. It's having impact, it's having more impact than probably my job as a SENCO could have, because of all the red tape and everything. And so I decided that I was going to look at setting it up, and as some sort of enterprise. I didn't know what enterprise was then, as a social enterprise. So I remember speaking to Dave Baxter. I think you met at the networking event recently. Just so happens we're in the same building now, and someone said go and speak to him. So I did, and I remember him saying, "Don't leave your job today. Like, I know you're excited, but don't leave your job. So many people leave their jobs and then go, what am I doing? So, you know, in that sort of next probably 6 months that led into 2019, I went, well, you know, I worked out we were going to set up as a community interest company. You know, went through all that process of setting up as a CIC. Knew we could set up as a charity later on if we wanted to. And that's something we're looking at now, potentially as a different model, but we didn't want to set up as a charity at the time because me and the two other directors who came on board, because we felt like disability plus charity meant everyone would just see us as free. And people still do think, you know, what you're going to, oh, you're coming into our school for free if it's a school, for example. So that was one reason we set up that way. But yeah, did all that in the background whilst I was looking at leaving my job. I handed my notice in and knew I had a few months and up to the May. Managed to get on a programme I mentioned to you before, the School for Social Entrepreneurs, which was huge, so shout out to them. The SSC was massive. Onto the startup programme, I met an amazing cohort of people who were on the same journey, and suddenly you go, oh my God, this isn't me on my own doing this. You meet other people who are passionate, because you'll know running a social enterprise is the loneliest place in the world. And that saying of you find a job you love, you never work a day in your life, I don't agree. My job was easier as a teacher, even though it's not easy as a teacher, but it was easier. Definitely, I could do what I did now. My hands behind my back, you know, probably, I'm sure. And that's no offence to teachers. I got so used to that job, I could do it easily. Now, like you'll know, it's a 24/7, waking up in the middle of the night, here's an idea, better write it down before I forget it type of thing. And you want everyone to buy into it. And luckily you meet people like yourself who gets that. And that's what the SSE was about, and that was great. And I've been on similar programs since, which is, you know, those sort of opportunities to meet like-minded people who are passionate about supporting others and supporting communities and making a difference through business is huge. So yeah, and that was it. That was the journey then. It started 6 months later, COVID hit, and we went, what do? We just started delivering some like workshops in schools and with some businesses. We just got on at Wigan at the council, the local authority, on their radar. We were just about to deliver a workshop for their staff, and I'm going, this is going to be a game changer like you do with like a few things. And we've built an amazing relationship since with the council, and we're delivering a lot of work now that I might get onto if we got time. But yeah, that was it, COVID hit, and I went, right. And we couldn't do anything. So we weren't, you know, we didn't have any funding at the time. We weren't one of those who a lot of funders started funding just the people they were funding at the time. So all the rounds were like closed funding rounds. So we didn't get any funding for like 18 months, and it was like, well, how do we make ends meet here? So we did get some bits of funding for community work, like in COVID, supporting local communities with what they needed. You know, disabled people were told they had to stay at home, a lot of disabled people, for a long time, and that was a big frustration. But we tried to support people that way by getting people what they needed, by growing a community of people online, supporting people every day online. And I probably, looking back, didn't look at my own well-being with that enough. I don't think we do as leaders of social enterprises, as social entrepreneurs. I'm probably finally at a point where I could call myself that. I don't know about you. Yeah. But at the time, I don't think I realised how much that was weighing on me, making sure I was supporting people every day, having something to do and not just being at home bored or whatever. Because if Hayden was here now, he'd be shouting how rubbish it was being at home. He hated being at home, you know. And as soon as I could get him out of the house and others, the better. So that led to a programme where we started meeting every Friday, and that's grown our team significantly coming out of COVID. But just back to that start of COVID, it gave me, and like many others, a bit of a reset, and it gave me time. And one thing I'd always wanted to do, or one thing I'd always talked about with my mum, was my grandma had dementia, and so I wrote this book, My Grandma Has Dementia, and it was a children's book aimed at primary school children in the UK, written in rhyme, you know, tried to be as engaging as possible, and was put onto an amazing illustrator, Adam Walker-Parker. Shout out to Adam, he's incredible. Everyone, even yesterday I was at an event, everyone comments on how amazing his illustrations are. They're so colourful, engaging. I should have brought a book, shouldn't I? I should be showing them up to the camera, but that's my fault. Anyone who sees this from Happy Smiles will be shouting at me. But yeah, My Grandma Has Dementia, wrote it, crowdfunded it. Crowdfunding was a great way of getting people on board, as you probably know, and released it. Crowdfunded it through the year, released it January 2021. My grandma passed away December 23rd, 2020. So a month literally before the book came out. But, you know, I should have brought the book, but I'm so proud that her legacy lives on through that book. So if nothing else, her legacy is there. So for my little girls, you know, they know who her Grandma Mary is, you know, they pick it up and they can see her, and it's amazing. So a picture's there in the back next to the cartoon like version of her, which is so cool. So if nothing else, that was there. But it actually won a Dementia Hero Award with the Alzheimer's Society, and I couldn't believe it. It was Richard Madeley presenting it, and but I always remember it got put forward for this award, and obviously I didn't think it would win or anything, and I remember watching it on YouTube at the time. It was presented on YouTube because of COVID, and I'm sat in a house we just moved into that had just had a power cut, and I'm praying this laptop doesn't go off and doesn't run out of battery, because I'm thinking, like, I'm watching this awards event, and I'll never forget him saying that the winner was My Grandma Has Dementia, and I just started crying. I'm bawling my eyes out. I don't know why. Obviously it was so personal to me. So yeah, that then though led to a series essentially on different books on different health conditions that, like dementia, we don't talk about. So that's why I'm really passionate about the books, because we don't talk about dementia, we don't talk about the other books on depression, cancer, Tourette's and cerebral palsy. So my uncle had depression, my cousin has Tourette's, my brother had cancer. So these are all the names, like my brother has cancer. My child has cerebral palsy. Now that wasn't my child, but I'd obviously in my work as a PA come across lots of parents and carers who had children who had cerebral palsy, and they wanted their voices to be heard. So we had a bit of a different slant on that. Wanted to have that parents and carers voice included in that too. So that was really good. And with the books, I just interview people with lived experience again. It's so important. So I just chat to people, or however we can draw out that lived experience, I do that. Because we're talking about topics that are sensitive, I had to talk about, and then we've got to put them in a child-friendly way. The aim of the books is to start that conversation between children and young people and families. I get so many families who get in touch and say, Alex, my son is asking why his granddad is acting in a certain way because he's got dementia, let's say, or his uncle has, or my partner has, or whatever, or I need to start the conversation about cancer. You know, how do you do that? So the books are a conversation starter. They're there so that it can at least go, you know, this might say my grandma has dementia, but it actually might be my brother has dementia, or my uncle, or my auntie, or whatever. But it's just to be able to say, look, well, you can relate to it somehow. And I'll never forget a teacher got in touch and said, Alex, I have to tell you, I bought your dementia book for a child who was really struggling in my class. Her home life was struggling, and her school life was, because her granddad had been diagnosed with dementia, was acting differently, and she couldn't handle that difference in her granddad. So I got her the book, she read it, she said she's read it every day since. It's like dog-eared. She said it's her favourite book, and her school and her home life is completely transformed. And I just went, I never expected that from the book. It was just like I just wanted to write a book, particularly a dementia one, to get people talking about something we don't talk about. And that was it. They took off from there. A publisher took them on at the end of the year, which was brilliant. But no other books have come out since, because that publisher got bought by a bigger publisher, and we're just waiting to get others out again. I get asked all the time, can you do one on this? Autism's a big one I'd love to do one on. And it's just about finding a way to, you know, fund those books, get them out there as soon as, and the more of those I can do, the better. Currently, you know, those books, it's called the My Has series, so just naturally from my grandma has dementia, my uncle has depression, so on. Because that's what people say, isn't it? Someone comes to you and says, oh, my my uncle has depression. My grandma has dementia too. And all those books, the sales from those parts of those help to support Happy Smiles. So they've never gone to me directly, they go to Happy Smiles, and that's, they're not a big money maker, but at least people know when they're buying the book, they're supporting a disabled person's-led social enterprise as well. Our team do loads of readings of the books in schools and community groups with children and young people. So, if anyone was watching this and they went, not just they want to buy the books to support Happy Smiles, but they want a reading, they can just get in touch and we can arrange a reading of the book. It can be done for free as well. If they buy so many books, we'll come and do it for free. So yeah, there's loads of benefits there. And then weirdly, like I say, this is why I'd always encourage people to open themselves up through volunteering or just throwing themselves into things. You never know what you're going to do. Because I never thought I'd be a children's book author, and then end up getting 3 different charities or organisations since the series started have got in touch and funded books outside of that series. So I've written a book on children's research, I've written a book on women's football with Emerson Boyce, who won the FA Cup with Wigan Athletic in 2013. I've written a book on children's research. Did I just say that one?
Yeah, children's research,
women's football.
Yeah, women's football.
And what was the third one? Lewy body dementia with the Lewy Body Society. Lewy body dementia, for example, is a horrible condition. I don't know if any forms of dementia is the best one, but Lewy body, dementia with Lewy bodies is a horrible condition. And I had people telling me these things that had happened to them, the vivid nightmares they'd have where it's they got blood, they'd smell the blood on the hands, for example, in this nightmare. How do you explain that in a child-friendly way? But it was a really exciting challenge, and I know that's been really well received. So, the other books, What Are Lewy Bodies, with the Lewy Body Society, if anyone wants to check that out. I always forget to do this bit of a plug, I suppose. I should probably tell people, but the other book is Ready for Research. That was with the National Institute of Health and Care Research, and that got put forward for an award and won an award as well.
Should put your awards there as well, blinking. As you come here, just as you are with your little rucksack.
I know. I just carry it around everything's always labelled up, always merched up. But yeah, it did. Yeah, they got in touch with me and said the Greater Manchester Institute for Health and Care Research, and they got in touch and said the book, someone's put the book up, because that book, they just got in touch with me and said we want a book to go out in schools in Greater Manchester about children's research. That was the plan. Very quickly, it went across all the National Institute of Health and Care Research networks, and people have been ordering around the country, and that to talk about children's research, which is amazing. But that then led to that award as well, which is great. So the books have had really great recognition, but yet people still, even yesterday at an event, they still come to me and say, I don't see this anywhere. I don't know if Joe will ever seen this, but Joe from Shine Books, very similar journey to myself. Check out Shine Books, PE teacher, etc. She does children's books too that talk about, autism, epilepsy. All her characters are animals. Really cool. My daughter loves them. She talks about Tarek the tortoise with Tourette's all the time. But there's a few of us out there doing these great things, and people just don't know about them. So the more we can know about it, the better. And the more we can talk about these often difficult subjects to talk about, the better. So yeah, that's the children's books as well. Like I said, they sort of coexist with Happy Smiles, and we use them a lot. But yeah, really proud of them. Really proud of giving people a voice through them. Really proud of the diverse characters they represent. Really proud of giving, of giving people the opportunity to have those experiences heard and starting that conversation.
So then what does Happy Smiles do? Obviously you've got the book side of it, and then in terms of the Happy Smiles training, that's part of the actual name, because I would just say Happy Smiles, but actually I should be saying Happy Smiles training.
Yeah.
What is the training part of it? What do you do and deliver?
Yeah. No, really good point. I think people call us Happy Smiles all the time. I refer to it as Happy Smiles just because it's easier. And we do have, we started as a training provider. We are a training provider, and it's something we're going through this massive change at the minute that we were discussing earlier. we're not just delivering training around the Northwest now, even though our team are all based in Wigan. We're looking at delivering elsewhere, and we've got people in other parts of the country to deliver our training. So we are primarily a training provider. We deliver training led by disabled people to schools, community groups, businesses. So we've worked with kids from 4 all the way up to adults who are in the 70s, all around essentially lived experience, but lived experience of disability. So we might do a training session on disability awareness, generic disability awareness. We might do a disability confidence scheme for businesses, training for them for the government's disability confidence scheme to get them on that. We might do training on inclusive language, about how we talk about disabled people and with disabled people. That's a really popular one with businesses, with front-facing staff, and in schools, because people don't know it. Well, how do I talk about disabled? Is disabled a bad word? It's not. It's not at all. We strongly believe at Happy Smiles, and particularly myself, we believe in the social model. We subscribe to that, the social model of disability, which says that disabled people are disabled by society, not by having, say, cerebral palsy. But, if we go into a school, or our team go into a school, and there's 100 steps to get in, well, they're not going to be able to get in. But that's not their fault for having cerebral palsy. They're disabled then by that environment. So that's what we believe in that model. So people need to, understand that that's it's okay to say the word disabled. Let's not be like a certain company earlier in the year, and I think they learnt the lesson, but they put a big sign up that said less able parking. I won't name the company, but there's a huge backlash because people are going, well, what does that even mean? What does less able even mean? That's so grey, as a lot of things are around disability, because we don't know how to address it. So those inclusive language sessions, for example, look at how to talk about disabled people, the terms we use with disabled people, how we best have those conversations. And that's just an example of some of the topics we deliver. We deliver loads of other stuff in like schools, again, inclusive sports sessions, there's loads. And a lot of our sessions have come from stuff that our team and our steering group have wanted to deliver, but also, and what people tell us they need, but also say someone coming to us and say, well, do you deliver on this? And we'll say, no. Well, could you? And we go, yeah, that will make that work. The key bit is that all our training is led by people who've lived experience of disability, and that's it. So we could deliver loads of other stuff we don't already deliver, but it has to be delivered by people who've lived experience. We're just, at the moment now, training up our team to deliver something called the Oliver McGowan training. So it's national mandatory training about learning disabilities and autism, but has to be delivered by people with learning disabilities and autism, and that's come from Paula McGowan campaigning. Her son Oliver passed away, and you can check it out, the Oliver McGowan story. I won't do it justice now, but he passed away essentially through poor healthcare provision that he should never have passed away. He went into a hospital with what I think was a routine thing. And again, that's why I don't want to go into too much detail and not do it justice. Check it out and you'll see Paul and Oliver's story. But it shouldn't have happened. And thankfully, Paul has campaigned for that and for a few years. And now it's this mandatory training being rolled out across NHS and healthcare services that finally, gives training like ours a mandatory label, not just a necessity label, not just a nicety label. Too often people see that what we do and go, oh, that's nice, what you're doing for disabled people. Well, it's not just that. You need it. Businesses need our training because, nationally, UK businesses have lost out on, even just this year, it will be in the region of £274 billion because a disabled person has gone to, say, a shop and gone, I can't get in, I'm not spending my money there. Or they've gone on a website and said, it's not accessible, I can't spend my money here. Well, you're missing out. Or you're missing out on disabled talent through your employees by not opening up the opportunities and having accessible, interview processes. So we're really passionate about working with businesses on that as well. And telling them about that purple pound, that spending power of disabled people. Really passionate about that. But they're just some ideas and examples of what we're working on at the minute. We're doing some EDI training with Wigan Council at the minute for their staff. We're actually working on a big strategy, an equality strategy, a community conversation really, and a project that has been going on for well into next year now, where we're getting the voices of many residents and communities from Wigan Borough to feed into what this strategy will look like. So it's not a Wigan Council-led strategy, but it's led by people across the community. So again, about getting those voices heard, and again, goes back to my earlier point of valued at a decision-making level. So now it won't just be a leader within the council who says this is what we should do. It'll be, Jean from around the corner who says these are my experiences, and this is the challenges or the successes I've experienced. This is what we want everyone to know going forward. So we have a more inclusive borough, and that's work we want to continue to do, not just in Wigan Borough but elsewhere as well.
Who's in the team, Alex? Who's in the Happy Smiles team?
Oh, there's a few of us. Started with me and Hayden, co-founders. Quickly grew. We had a couple of people jump on board, young local disabled adults, and our team grew to being primarily young disabled adults. So when I say young disabled adults, I'm talking like 18 plus, but a lot were in the 20s, early 30s. But then we've grown, so our team are made up of disabled people. I won't offend one of them, but way up to, pretty sure he's late 60s. Amazing. I'm gonna say. And I'm not gonna I hope I've gone on the right side of 70s, 60s there. But yeah, so we've got a range of ages now, which is great, and we're always looking at expanding our team. So our team are made up of volunteers and staff. So we have some who aren't paid and some who are paid. Some people who are unpaid and some who aren't. Some people I've learned along the way. When we set up, I was like, we're going to grow a team of disabled people who are going to get paid employment. But then suddenly individuals and families were saying, we don't want payment. We're too scared of losing benefits. They've had too many bad experiences of, accessing payment and then for something and losing a benefit and all that. And we tried to work with people on that, but it's so ingrained again that there's a fear there. So some will only have a volunteer, but if we can provide an amazing volunteer experience for someone where they're using their skills and experiences to impact communities.
You can't put a price on that, can you?
Yeah, I mean, some clever person might be able to.
I
can't. I mean, one thing
Us two can.
You said it. It's like, when we look at our social return on investment, it'll be huge. Just not been able to calculate it yet. In terms of actually trying to put a price on it, but yeah, in general, you can't put a price on it. Because so many people told us, I tried to have I'd done a work experience thing at a local supermarket, but it didn't work for me. It didn't work for the supermarket either, because often they've got someone working there on a till and then another member of staff's maybe supporting them for whatever reason. And then it just doesn't work. So we've got to think about different ways of doing that and including disabled people in mainstream roles and jobs. We have a passion for providing people with that employment pathway, but so should everywhere. Someone who does that really well, not necessarily just the employment bit, but supports disabled people into accessing mainstream health and fitness opportunities and centres, is Ben Andrews. So if there'll be people watching this, if anyone who watches this will know Ben Andrews. He's famous in my eyes, but he's an absolute legend, Ben. He's from Beyond Empower, and they do just that. It's not about just. It's about giving disabled people opportunities in mainstream society. And that's a very, very similar thing with us. We want to give people an opportunity where, no offence to day services, but a lot of people in our team have come from day services where their personal health budgets were paying £100 a day to go and do very little. And not all day services do that, don't get me wrong. There's a place for day services, 100%. There's great ones in Wigan Borough, but there's also not great ones. People come to us and tell us all the time, I went there, and I just, like Hayden, he went to one where he couldn't access a trip they went on one day, so he was told to go and play Xbox with such a body and such a body. Well, he can't play Xbox because the traditional remote doesn't work for him. Well, why is he paying £100 a day? And yeah, he's not paying that out in his own pocket, in his cash, but then the system doesn't work then because it's funding something that isn't working for him. So we said, well, volunteer at least. You're not paying. You can use your budget to get a PA or whoever who might, if you need that support, to go out at the weekend and see friends and do that sort of stuff. Do that instead. Don't just be tied into a day service that you have to go there Monday to Friday doing the same thing or with the same people all the time.
So, Alex, in terms of Happy Smiles and where we're at right now, how big can this get, and how much do you see it as running a business, or how much do you see it as running, I don't know, a volunteer service or a charity? So how big can you get, and how do you view and envisage how you run it?
Yeah. Well, at the minute we've got 15 disabled people who deliver our training in Wigan, and they deliver across the northwest. But as you'll imagine, transport is one of the biggest nightmares, accessible transport. So I'm finding that. So we started going, well, actually, how can we deliver this elsewhere? We've delivered training to just over 16,000 people now, just as that team. So we've had great impact. We've had great recognition. We're on the Disability Power 100 list this year, and were last year, which is a list of the 100 most influential disabled people and organisations in the UK. Hayden and I were invited down to meet the King and Queen at a Coronation Garden Party this year at Buckingham Palace. So those sort of opportunities are amazing. I was calling Rishi Sunak before. Rishi Sunak, this Points of Light award, he did receive a written letter from Rishi Sunak so that recognition is there, and has been coming especially this year. So people are noticing us and valuing what we do, and keep telling us there's not enough of what we do. That Oliver McGowan training I was on a bit before, they're like, there's no Happy Smiles anywhere, and we know that, and that's why one big reason we set up. So we know there's prospect for us to scale and grow, and that comes with working with other great. We know of two or three other disabled-led training providers, in other parts of the country who are amazing. And we're speaking to them, they want to work together. It's not about working against them, it's about working together. It might take us another few years to get to working regularly in that London, for example. So if there's another company doing that, which we know there are, great, and let's support each other. So that's what we want to do. So that's where we're at now. In terms of how big it can get, how long's a piece of string, it's one of them. We just, at the process now, we're putting things in place to make sure we can grow, scale sustainably, and continue to have that impact. I always revert back to, it keeps coming up on my Netflix, it must hear me talk about it must track me. But the film The Founder, about McDonald's and how they franchised, and he went round, I think it was Ray Kroc, was it, the guy? He went round when they started franchising going, this is rubbish, it's not the same standard. And I keep thinking about it, because the more we're doing that, and empowering people elsewhere in other parts of the country to deliver our work, we want it to be as high quality as it's always been. You go on Google, there's something like 200 odd 5-star reviews of our work. There's a reason for that, and that's because we're really proud about the quality that we deliver. It's not just a nice thing that we do. It's not just bless that poor disabled person delivering that training. People get stuff from it. And just as an example of that, we did some work with Bolton Council staff early this year, and it was over a number of weeks. So someone came back and said, after your first session, someone from the Victoria, it was from the team, delivered. So shout out to Victoria for this. They came back to Victoria and said, after that first session you delivered, we weren't going to actually take this disabled person on a residential because we didn't think we could make it work for them on a residential weekend. They came back and said, we considered we do sessions on positive risk, all the positive risk that you talked about and how we make that work. And we've took that disabled person on, they're coming on that residential trip with us. And that is huge, because we know that person going on that trip, that's a lifetime opportunity like that. That's not a once in a lifetime, but it's a moment in their life they might never forget. Loads of people in our team talk about the times where they've been excluded from them, and I tell you now, they never forget it. The impact of that is long lasting, it's lifelong, and hopefully our impact therefore is also lifelong in a positive way. So yeah, that's where our impact there's no reason why we can't continue to scale, and that's the plan, and continue to grow while supporting this local team that we've got. That's a hard bit. How do you support this amazing local team and continue to grow? And that's that wicked problem as a really great person. Shout out to Bernie. Bernie knows who he is, but Bernie talks about wicked problems with me when I always go, why do we do this? And he said it's a wicked problem to have. Like you're growing, amazing, and you want to keep this great team. And how do you do all that? And it's capacity. We don't want to be chasing funding, and we're lucky we've never just been heavily grant funded, so we've never had to chase it. But at the same time, we have to fund, that growth, and we're now looking at how we do that. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Alex, I want to say thank you so much. I think it's really important, not even just saying thank you for being here. Thank you for doing what you do. And you know what? Thank you for being you. It's probably the most important thing, because it's so cool, mate. Yeah. You are one cool guy. And we've only known each other like 6 months or a year or whatever. But it's like, those kindred spirits where you think, man, I must have known you in a previous life or something, mate.
Yeah.
It's that spirit. You're amazing. So thank you for doing what you do.
Yeah.
There's going to be some big things coming your way, and for the people, with the way that the impact that Happy Smiles and everything that you got involved with. So Alex, we talked about Happy Smiles, but how do people find out about Happy Smiles?
So our website is www.happysmilestraining.co.uk. We're on loads of different platforms. If you go to our website, you'll find it there. But Facebook at Happy Smiles Training CIC, Instagram's the same, TikTok's the same, Twitter or X is Happy Smiles CIC. So check us out on social media. Please do follow us. That'd be great, and follow that journey we're on. Let us know if you've watched this and you've got through my boring voice for long enough, and you're still interested in supporting us. Let us know. The same with the books as well. If you want to follow me personally, it's Alex Winstanley on LinkedIn, or Alex Winstanley Author on Facebook, Instagram, and Alex W Author on Twitter or X.
Thank you, mate. I've got some questions to ask.
Yeah.
Some quick fire questions that I've prepared earlier.
Love it, because I've just rambled on for ages. So yeah.
It's all right. Our video editing's unbelievable.
Thanks, Tom.
So essentially, I've got some quick fire questions that I prepared earlier. Yeah. They're ingrained in here. So essentially, I'm going to ask a question.
Great.
You answer it, and you don't have to have a reason behind it. So just answer it, and then we'll go straight to the next one. Does that sound all right?
Sounds a bit nervous.
Okay, it's all right. I'm just worried about this Wigan accent, whether people can understand what's going on here. So
I'll pronounce instead of pronounce.
Pronounce. So, Alex, life is about.
Life is about living.
Love that.
Bit cheesy, but living. Yeah.
Volunteering's important because
it leads to opportunities you might never realise that you were going to experience.
And an inclusive community.
An inclusive community is when a community that values everybody's opinions, input, experiences.
Being a dad.
Hard work. Being a dad, no, it's something I'm extremely proud of. It's my proudest thing.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. True education should
give people the knowledge and the experiences to empower themselves to do whatever they want to do.
How much of where you're at right now is because of luck, and how much of it is down to hard work?
I honestly think I grew up playing rugby. I remember a coach saying you make your own luck. So, in sport, I was lucky. I honestly believe you make your own luck. If you're in the position on that field at that time and the ball bounces to you, well, you were in that position. So I think, it's certainly maybe a 50-50. Maybe that's sitting on the fence. But you do make your own luck, and you've got to put yourself in that position to have a bit of luck sometimes.
I love that. If there was an Alex Winstanley rule, a government law, right? I know you love politics. What would that rule be, and why?
Everyone has to have a Wigan kebab for breakfast. No, I'm only joking. A Wigan kebab, if no one's ever tried one, Try one. A pie on a barm, or whatever you call a barm, or what do you call a barm?
A barm, yeah. A barm. Yeah.
If there was a rule from me, a government rule, well, I think we've got to turn everything upside down. The way things currently work is the people at the top make all the money, they make all the decisions, they get all the benefits, and they also seem to not face the scrutiny. You know, a certain somebody's just come back into a certain position of power that everyone's going, are you joking? But yet, us here at the bottom have to struggle to fight to have those voices heard, and I would try and that needs flipping. You know, the people at the bottom, the people in our communities and our residents, they need to be the ones who have the position. They need to be put in the position to have the influence. And I don't know how that rule would work, and that's a long-winded rule, but that's how it would look.
Well, it's your own world that you can create, so I love it. So the final two questions that we've asked every Tales to Inspire guest so far, over 150 people, is Alex Winstanley, what is your definition of the word inspire?
I think inspire, if you inspire someone, it creates a difference to make them do something that hopefully, you know, creates a positive difference. Yeah, by inspiring others, by inspiring people, hopefully, you know, they go away and make a difference they want to make. So that's what comes to mind when I think about the word inspire.
I love it, Alex. And the final question is, if you were to live your most fulfilled life, the one where, you know, you've got to 100, you've touched base with the king again. We don't know which king it'll be or queen by that time, but essentially you've made everything you want to do within this lifetime. What's the biggest impact or proudest moments you want to have achieved during that lifetime?
It's going to sound dead cheesy, but I've got 2 daughters at the minute. Those daughters, and if we had any other children, I don't know if we will or not, that they're good people that create, you know, some good change around them as well. That'd be great.
Amazing.
That'd be it.
Alex, thank you for being on the Tales to Inspire podcast, mate.
No worries. Thanks for having me. Nice
mate,
one.
that was
Cheers,
class.
Dave.
Thank you for watching today's episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please leave a comment in the comment section below, and we cannot wait to see you for our next episode.